Welcome back to the Brohood Productions Hall of Justice podcast. I am your co-host, Alma, the All-Star Superman, and today we have Colby the Cheese Man. And
Hello.
you guys know what that means. We're talking Superman. And
Oh
forgive Colby
yeah.
in advance, his camera's having issues.
Ah.
But anytime you see a Transformer, if that is a Transformer, Words of Ultron, that
Yes.
is totally okay. It is totally acceptable on this
Yes.
podcast, on this show.
Yeah.
Colby,
Do you want me to just turn my video off or just let it do its thing?
let it do its thing. We want to be able
Okay.
to see you when we can. If
Yeah.
it works, it works, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's gray now, but that's all right. We can hear you.
Well,
Say something.
hello, hello.
Um, Colby, did you decide to watch the sneak peek?
I did, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
last time we talked, I was on the fence. I don't want to watch too much and then have seen the whole movie already, but I
Yeah.
decided to sit down and watch it. It was worth it. It's
Yes.
it's a good little clip.
It's good. It's good. Let's talk to the naysayers. Um, he is getting an extra dose of sunlight. That's why it's super painful. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, we can't always do the whole, "Ah," it's relaxing. He's getting rejuvenated.
Mhm.
Did we forget
Mhm.
in Man of Steel? Or no, it wasn't Man of Steel. It was Batman versus Superman, where he gets blown up by an atomic bomb, which makes no
Yeah.
sense to me. And the sun puts him back together.
Yes.
So we're not going to complain about that, but we're going to complain
No,
about him, you
no,
know.
I know. It's funny. Yeah, it's you're if your internal organs were bleeding and you were being healed at an exponential rate, it would probably hurt.
I would
And
think
to
so.
be in basically an ant under a magnifying glass, like it's probably gonna hurt, even if you're Superman.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a I just saw these things where people were like unhappy, and I understand, right? That
yeah.
not everyone is a Superman fan, not everyone knows the lore.
Mhm.
It could be just people who are so dedicated to the Snyderverse, which is fine.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it could be people who just don't know Superman, but
Yeah.
um, it's fiction. I don't think I would have been bothered either way. Like if he were to have been like, oh, and I'm sure there's going to be an ah moment anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you because I can't remember besides Christopher Reeve, because I know that for
Mhm.
both of us, Christopher Reeve is our favorite
Mhm.
Superman.
Mhm.
I know that a close second for me is probably Henry Cavill or
Mhm.
Cavill. I'm sure there was
Yeah.
a late night show where he corrects his last name. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean this in all like respect because I saw this really cool. So there's that marketing image out there with David in the
Mhm.
suit, and someone placed Henry's face on it. I was like, he looks great in that
Oh,
suit too.
nice.
I wanted to ask you, not are you over it, or I guess it's like, have you come to terms with Henry no longer being Superman? Have you made it to that point?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I always liked him as Superman. I think with the right, I don't know. His was a different version, so you don't want to say, "Oh, if he was just like the comics, he'd be good," you know. I
Yeah.
think his was an interesting take for the character. I think the thing with Henry's Superman is we never got to see its full potential.
Hmm.
You know, like it kind of he we did Death of Superman and then he came back and we had one or two movies with him in the Justice League depending on if you prefer one version or the other or view both of them, but like, and then a little post credit in Black Adam. We never really got to see him. I guess he got one movie and then half a movie with Batman, and then a movie where he's part of an ensemble, and that's really it. Which is a lot, but also like we never really got to see, in my opinion, the full potential of his version. So I think I always liked his version of Superman. It's at the point where I think we have moved on, and so it's sad. I wish we could have seen him more, but it's at the point where it, that chapter of the character is over, and now it's this chapter. And I understand people not being over it. I think it's kind of just a case of whether or not you prefer this version or the old version. This is the version we have now, so it's like let's see what he can do before we immediately no Henry's better.
I agree with you. I think
But
it's
no.
like a case by case basis.
Mhm.
I do miss him. We didn't
Yeah.
get a lot of time with him, and
Hmm.
JP and I were talking about this when the second TV spot dropped and how people didn't like the whole fisheye look,
Oh yeah.
which it didn't really bother me. But in my spiel with JP, we were talking about how the same emotion that I had watching that TV spot is the same emotion I had when we have Henry Cavill flying in Man of Steel,
Hmm.
or when Christopher Reeve shows up.
Yeah.
It's Superman,
Yeah.
different iterations of the character, which you and I have already talked about.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think Henry was by any means a bad Superman. I think if
No.
if we could have had more of him, it would have been great.
Hmm.
What we got of him in what I would deem as an Elseworld story, totally
Hmm.
fine. Okay.
Yeah.
My opinion. My opinion. I miss Henry. I,
Yeah.
I love Henry. Wish he would come
Oh
back
yeah.
like as Jor-El, but that's probably not happening.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, he just seems like such a great guy, and like he's just a sweet dude. So it's sad that like he was gonna come back and then wasn't, and that kind of always will feel bad, you know.
Yeah.
Black Adam, oh, he's gonna be Superman again, and then immediately not. And it's like that must have sucked for him, especially to like, oh, I
Mhm.
get to, oh, no, I don't. But yeah, I think regardless, it's hopefully he still has some good work ahead of him. So
Yes, yes, yes. Well, Kobe, it is summer of Superman. We're getting a
yes.
lot of Superman days almost coming, which I know is also a
Mhm.
special day for you. We won't tell the audience much besides that. Um, getting comic books, we're getting merch, we're getting toys, especially comic books. I believe it is this month, right, where we get the Summer of Superman special #1.
I believe so. Yes. Look at me. I should know this. I work at a comic book store.
I want to say,
Fire me now. Just kidding. Yeah, I believe it is this month we're getting the Summer of Superman special. Not too long, actually. I think just a few weeks at this
yeah, a few
point.
more weeks, yeah.
Ba-ba-ba-ba.
We can't see you, so if you're showing us
Yeah.
something, we can't see you.
No, no, no. I'm just looking it up to see. This says June, but I could be wrong. It comes out soon, regardless.
Yes.
Yes, Superman Day's coming up, and the summer of Superman, and we are blessed with abundance. It's on one hand it's scary because I'm trying not to buy too much, but when there's like seven Superman titles coming out, it's like, well,
Right.
I'm
What do
not
I
gonna skip
do?
any of them.
At least
But
the
no,
first issue,
it's
right? At
gonna
least
be.
the first issue.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. But no, it's exciting. I think it's gonna be good. I'm glad they're pushing the movie this way. You know, I think we've talked about this on previous episodes, but it's with Superman and a lot of other characters, I think public perception comes down to, you know, how the company markets and pushes and portrays the character. So when you don't give people a chance to enjoy Superman, they don't. But
Mhm.
if you give them, oh, here's some good Superman stories, then they'll be, oh, wait, maybe this is good. Maybe I'll go watch the movie, or this movie's good. Maybe I'll go read the comics. So I think it's definitely good. I'm super excited for it. I think it's gonna be a good time all
Yeah.
around.
I think that's part of the reason why they're trying to encourage people to watch Minecraft and they're attaching the Superman
Hmm.
trailer with it because if you go watch Minecraft, maybe the people who go watch Minecraft, the families, the kids,
Yeah.
the nerds like us will see
Hmm.
the Superman sneak peek and go, "Oh, I want to watch Superman too." It's marketing, it's
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Exactly.
We need to do
They
it
won't see a
more
movie if they
with
don't
our
know about your
comic
movie.
books, though.
Yes, we can always do better about marketing the comics,
The
unfortunately.
the the hard word of comics.
Yes, yes. The marketing.
Speaking of Summer of Superman, I'm not sure why this isn't part of the hype. I would say it's part of the hype. Maybe I'm just misreading it, but
Mhm.
Absolute Superman should be part of Summer of Superman. I know that most of the Summer of Superman is connected with main continuity, but I
Yeah.
would think Absolute Superman should get the same type of level of praise and attention.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I think they definitely are trying to like, oh the the movie version is more of a standard, so we'll push the main universe comics. But I think definitely the absolute stuff is just as good as whatever they're going to be putting out and are currently putting out. And I think it definitely, especially the absolute comics are crazy. Like, just speaking as someone who works on the retail side of it, like we are constantly getting people in, not just for Superman, but for a lot of the Absolute books and even for the Marvel's Ultimate books that like
Mhm.
have never read a comic in their life, but oh, I want to subscribe to this, or you hear them talking like, oh, I saw this video on TikTok, or I saw this tweet about this awesome new comic, I want to try it out. And so I think the Absolute universe is doing what they've tried to do a lot with not only the movies but with just other books, and that's to kind of appeal to a wider audience because comics are a little bit niche, and so people will watch. And again, this isn't I'm not trying to attack anyone or anything here, but just it's just a fact. Marvel movies will make a trillion bajillion dollars, but then most of those people, they're not going to go read the comics. They just want a good movie and then they go home. So I
Right.
think it's very interesting that the Absolute stuff is definitely getting a lot of those new readers who maybe wouldn't have read it. And obviously, new readers is always good for the industry.
I think the Ultimates is superb to throw a little bit Marvel here in the show, just like you did. Especially for me, I've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man. Fantastic, fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I only picked up Ultimate Wolverine #1, but from what I've understood, most people have reacted well to it. The Ultimates themselves, I know there's like an incursion
Yeah.
happening soon, which is going to be cool.
Oh yeah.
But with what you're saying about the Absolute line, I haven't been able to grab Green Lantern yet, but I got the first issue of Martian Manhunter, first issue of
Nice.
Absolute Flash, um, and then Absolute Batman has been fantastic. This Absolute universe that Darkseid has essentially created, and whatever they're building up to is insane and
Yeah.
amazing storytelling, amazing art. I know that Absolute Wonder Woman has taken a lot of audiences has captivated a lot of audiences based on the numbers that I've seen and people talking about how she's just awesome.
Oh yeah.
Um, but Absolute Superman, though, we just finished the first arc with
Yes.
Rafa Sandoval. He's not doing the next two issues, I don't think, or maybe this next arc, but he's at least doing the cover art, and Jason Aaron is still writing, which is great. Your thoughts on the last issue, man?
Ooh, yes, yes. I may get them a little confused. I read 5 and 6 back to back, so if I throw in a little bit of 5 in there,
One good story.
yes, no, it's all good. But no, I thought it was really good. I'm glad we finally got to see kind of how him and basically how his life, because we've seen a lot of his life on Krypton and leading up to coming to Earth, but obviously in 6 we finally see, oh, here's where he lands on the Kent farm and grows up with them. And I thought it was a really, do we want to get into spoilers, question mark?
Spoiler alert.
Okay, I was like, I don't want to start talking about it if we don't have a spoiler warning, but like, anyway, if you haven't read it, go read it. It's really good. But I really liked kind of the twist that they did where he didn't, I mean, obviously he came to Earth much older, so he didn't really get to grow up with them, but he's only with them for the way I read it, because I don't think they give like an actual time frame, is it's only for like a couple weeks, maybe months,
Yeah.
and then like he's speaking Kryptonian, and then thanks to Soul, he can finally speak English, and it's only for like a few days after that he's with them, and then he gets taken away by Lazarus Corp. But it's so heartbreaking because he already views them as family, and they view him as family. And I thought Jason Aaron did a really good job with that because you get even like the scene where he's up in space and you see he was floating through space for like a year plus, and
Mhm.
I think that's always been a part of the Superman character, is that despite how kind he is and he wants to always help everyone and he feels like he's very friendly, he's also a very lonely character. He's the last son of Krypton. He has Kara, he has Crypto, but really that's it. And a, he's a stranger here, but not really, but he is. Despite Earth being his home, that'll always be a part of him, is that his people are mostly gone. And so to see him go for so long without anyone, and then the minute he gets a family with the Kents, that's ripped away from him. I think that's a really interesting way to take the character, and I'm excited to see like how that. I mean, it already has affected him. He's a lot more, I guess, proactive and more quick to anger, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely a different thing for Superman. And you can tell he's hurting, and he take sometimes it overwhelms him, and it's very ironically human of him.
No, I loved 5 and 6. Like
Hmm.
5, you see it from his eyes, right? From the audience, you can be like, oh, maybe not everybody blew up, but from his eyes,
Yeah,
everybody blew up around him.
yeah,
And his last memory is he gets separated from his parents, which would be scary.
yeah,
And then he's floating in space for 17 months,
yeah.
all alone. And then he crash lands. Lo and behold, where does he crash land?
Hmm.
Um, I think it was in issue 4 or issue 5 where we
Hmm.
see Martha Kent in like the rehab center.
Yeah,
And that's like modern day, right? So I don't know if something's happened to Jonathan in that
yeah,
time frame, because we're caught up now with the
yeah,
epilogue. But did something happen? And because I think
yeah.
they've been searching for him for what, 5 years now? Is that what they said?
Hmm. I think so. Yeah.
Um, and that reveal at the end, like you got it. I mean, I kept
Oh,
I kept calling it different things. Like I couldn't remember that it
yeah,
was Lazarus Corp. But
yeah,
like you had an allusion to who it would have been, but it was still a
yeah.
great reveal.
Oh, yeah. No,
What do
it's
you think?
crazy.
What do you think?
I didn't, yeah, sorry. I didn't think they would do that because I think even though the Absolute Universe in general has been very like they'll play with the tropes, it is still fairly contained. Like, you'll have Absolute Wonder Woman, she's raised by Cersei, who's
Mhm.
a Wonder Woman villain. You have Absolute Batman, he's still mostly interacting with Batman characters, and so it's the same with Superman. And I've picked up the three newest absolutes, but I haven't had the chance to read them yet. But I assume similar stories there. But
Mhm.
it's really interesting that like we see Brainiac, but then we also see Ra's al Ghul, and it's like, oh, he's usually a Batman villain. What's he doing here? Like, hold
Mhm.
on. I think that's a really good twist. Like, oh wait, and I think it'll work, obviously. But yeah, I with how different the absolute universe is going to be, like you said, you kind of assume like, oh, it's the Lazarus Corp, whatever. But just with how different everything was, maybe I just wasn't thinking too hard about it. But I thought, oh, that thought never crossed my mind. I'm like, this is a new version of Lazarus, the concept, and so I thought, oh, Ra's al Ghul just isn't part of this. It's just a new thing. They're using the Lazarus name, and then oh, he is here. Interesting. Like, I thought that was a really fun twist. I think it'll be good to see him interact with this version because I don't know that he. I'm sure there's like some Justice League stories or some World's Finest stuff where he has, but I can't think of many instances where he really interacts with him. So it'll be interesting to see this version interact with this version of Ra's al Ghul and what makes this version different than the main Ra's al Ghul.
I correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen any Lex Luthor, which I'm
Yeah.
happy with.
Oh yeah.
That's a big thing in main continuity right now, so keep it
Mhm.
there. But
Mhm.
I'm intrigued by how eventually Lex Luthor will be wrapped up into the
Yeah.
absolute universe. Um,
Yeah.
because with Absolute Batman, most of his rogues gallery are his closest friends.
Yeah.
And there's just some offshots of people who are not within his inner circle. Like the Joker is still the Joker in a different, creepy, interesting way.
Yeah.
And they just tease Bane in the most recent one. And then Mr. Freeze is coming based on the cover art that you can see for the
Yeah.
next 2 issues. Or next, yeah, I think something like that.
Mhm.
But for Superman to be placed against Raish is
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah.
especially in this absolute world. Brainiac, I think, is going to get some highlights in the next issue and the start of the new arc.
Mhm.
So we've met him. He's kind of giving me Captain America, Brave New World, the leader vibes because of the way he
Oh
looks.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see because that Brainiac, I want to get to know this Brainiac because he's been
Mhm.
on Earth and he's working with or working for Raish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's a concept that is interesting to me. It's like we've been
Yeah.
searching for Superman, and what is Raish's plans for Superman besides him kneeling before him?
Right.
I'm Raish Al Ghul. Uh, does he want him to be his knight in shining armor,
Hmm.
executing everything for Lazarus Corp? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
generic way to put it, but
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued with what Jason Aaron, Rafa Sandoval, and I don't know the new artist name by memory yet, but what they're going to be showing us in this
Hmm.
next arc. Where does it lead
Yeah.
to? Because this
Hmm.
first part was very much about him narrating what happened to him, and I'm glad
Yeah.
it lasted this long. And now it's like, okay, what's the next story? And they did a good
Yeah.
job, in my opinion, to get you hooked on the idea of what is happening next.
Yeah. We've seen the origin, and now we can move on to what's happening now. Yes. True. And again, not to sidetrack things here, but I did want to shout out. I was thinking earlier that I forgot to mention. I really liked, real quick, the way they portrayed Ma Kent. How Pa is obviously like, this is a boy fell from the sky. He's got superpowers. Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm not telling you we shouldn't take care of him, but like, this is crazy. We're barely surviving on our own. I liked how she was so adamant. Like, no, we need to help this boy. And then obviously their love grew from that. But I really liked how adamant she was. Not that Pa was like a jerk, but
Mhm.
I really liked
I
her
think he would react
dedication.
like any one of us.
Yeah, no, yeah. This is a little strange. But no, yeah, I liked her dedication there. And now that we've seen the origin, it'll be interesting to see, yeah, how obviously she's in the rehab center, how she's doing now, and her relationship with Clark. But then, yeah, like you said, kind of moving forward, what happens now? We've got Lois is kind of potentially gonna team up with him. Same with Jimmy, and
Mhm.
then um, we've got Brainiac and Rage teased. I think it's going to some interesting places for
So,
sure.
to ask you, Kobe, because my brain hasn't stretched out this far. Everything so far in the absolute universe is
Mhm.
so disconnected that I don't know
Mm.
how they meet up together.
Yeah, same. I'm like, what? I know. It'll be interesting because yeah, so far I've liked how kind of disconnected from each other they all are, but we all kind of know that I'm sure eventually they'll cross over. you know, I know there's been some leaks potentially. I don't know how true they are. I don't want to get too much into it. A, because they might not be true. A, because they might be true and
Right.
spoil a story a year from now. But um, I think it's safe to say that eventually it will cross over. So yeah, it'll be
Mhm.
interesting to see how it does because I feel like each. That's what I love about the Absolute Universe is that we love the main universe, but obviously they have like kind of a set canon and this is how things are, and you kind of get to play in that sandbox. Whereas with the absolute stuff, I feel like it's very creator driven, where they all are kind of going for a certain vibe, like kind of a maybe this is a darker version of the character or like a different twist on the character, but they're also all very different from each other, and each one has its own voice, and that's what I
Mhm.
really enjoy about it. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of meld that together to be one and the same. Because, like you said, I mean, I'm sure they all will interact, but yeah, how does this version of Wonder Woman or Batman or Superman, how do they eventually cross paths? So it'll be
Mhm.
interesting to see how that how that goes.
Are they going to be called Absolute Justice League or Justice League Limited?
Yes, the Justice League Limited. Justice
Uh,
League Infinite.
Infinite. I don't know. And I think it's smart. I think this
Justice
is
League
something that you may have
Unleashed.
been alluded to, and you can correct me without putting words in your mouth.
Mm.
But I think you need to take your time before you create an absolute Justice League.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't know what Flash is doing. If you
Yeah.
haven't read it yet, I don't want to spoil it for you. But it
Yeah.
seems out of what we're dealing with Superman. And Wonder Woman seems to have been like here longer in if we're like thinking
Hmm.
chronologically within the absolute universe. I think she's been
Yeah.
around longer.
Hmm.
Batman is super young based
Yeah.
on how he's depicted.
Hmm.
And so is Superman.
Yeah.
Um, um, They're just doing a fantastic job building this new universe.
Oh
I
yeah.
would even say that it's so far different from the New 52 because you could consider the New 52 a different tone for the
Yeah.
characters that we know and love. Still great in different
Mhm.
ways, but different, very
Yeah.
different from the New 52.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely. Um, it's yeah, it's like I said, not even just from people who have read comics before, from people who haven't, and just on a personal level, like yeah, it's they're really doing something different with it in a really good way, and I think it's oh, hello. My kitty is trying to get in here. Um, but yeah, I think it's really interesting in a way that we haven't seen, and it makes me excited for the future, not just of this book, but for like you said, the universe, because it's very much like DC does these reboots all the time, and it's the the New 52 and the Rebirth and all that, but like because this is kind of its own thing, it's very exciting to see what'll be the same, what'll be different. Like you said, like it's an exciting time to be reading comics, I think. And I'm excited to see where they go. I think it's definitely going to be something good.
Smart initiative. I think they should have the main
Yes.
continuity wherever it's going to, because that's some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And they really need to explore this absolute universe. And I would venture far enough to say that this may take a while before there's a culmination
Yeah. Oh yeah.
when they mix or become aware of each other,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
could be a good thing.
Yeah.
We need to be patient. We don't want to rush anything because then it's like all over and then you have to start all over again. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do that
Yes.
right now.
Hmm.
Um, what would you, Kobe, want to see in the absolute universe that hasn't been explored yet?
Ooh, that's interesting. Um, hmm. You know, honestly, it's funny because the recently DC put out a Black Lightning miniseries. I think it was only like 5 issues, and I loved that series. Like I've seen him in like the Justice League and other various books here and there, but like reading reading that series kind of made me a fan of the character. Sometimes it takes like you'll there's a character you kind of know about but you haven't really interacted with, and then there's that one good story you read and then it finally clicks and like you get it. And recently that I don't it sucks because I don't know if they would, just because he's not such a big name character. He's kind of a more not background character, but he's a lot lesser known than the Trinity or the Justice League characters. But like I think they could do something really interesting with Black Lightning. And maybe that's just because he's top of mind and I've really enjoyed his book. But that, or maybe like an absolute New Gods would be interesting. I mean, I know they're putting out that New Gods book right now that's really good, but like to see like kind of a different spin on it could be really cool. What about you?
Oh, that's a good question, man. If I had to pick, right, because there's so many characters, like I want to read more Dark Side for some reason, because this is his
Oh
universe.
yeah.
And it's not that I'm not a fan of Green Arrow. I like Green Arrow.
Hmm.
Um, I think he would be interesting in the Absolute Universe. But,
Hmm.
and I'm sure they're thinking of all the different characters they could use, but the character that comes to my mind is an absolute Shazam. How do
Ooh,
you, how do you incorporate that in the Absolute Universe?
interesting. Hmm.
I don't know.
He's
That's my pick.
he's an adult that turns into a kid.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, I
Well,
don't know. I don't
I
know
don't
how
know.
they would do that. That'd be really interesting.
I'm thinking more like the person that fits the best would probably be Black Adam in the Absolute
Yeah.
Universe.
Oh
And
yeah.
maybe he is Shazam in the Absolute Universe,
Oh,
which
there you
could
go.
work, which could work.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know if they've really done that yet, at least with the heroes in the Absolute Universe, where it's kind of like a different individual kind of takes up the mantle. Because for the most part, it's still Clark, it's still Bruce, it's still Diana. We have Wally, obviously, but he's been Flash before. So like that would be a cool twist to like, oh, this Shazam, his secret identity is different. He's actually Black Adam. Like
Yeah.
that would be cool. I like me likey. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. DC, just
Yes.
hire both of us right now.
Right?
We'll take our families to Los Angeles. No worries.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, dude, yeah. I hope this isn't quite the same. This is more like characters I'd like to see in Absolute Superman, but I'm a huge Steel fan, both
Hmm. Hmm.
John Henry Irons and his niece, Natasha, and I think it'd be really cool to see kind of their versions in this story. I mean, that might just be me wanting to see more super characters in Superman, but
Right. Right.
I definitely would love to see that. And I, like you said, I think it is better to kind of take it slow. I wouldn't want them to immediately. And here's the rest of all this. Here's Supergirl and Steel and Superboy and everyone, but like kind of just drip feed in there would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I was thinking about it with Absolute Batman. Like, how do you do the Bat family with a young
Yeah,
Bat? You know, I
yeah.
guess
How
we'll find out.
do you do Robin this early? Do you do like a different spin on Robin? How does that work?
I don't
How
know.
do you do
They
that?
haven't hired us yet. We're not part of the creative team.
Exactly. We got to keep our mouth shut till we're
Yes.
getting that paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colby, this has been fantastic. Thank you again for
Oh yeah.
joining the pod, the Hall of
Of
Justice
course.
podcast. Always great to talk Superman with you. There will be more
Yeah.
Superman to come. Everybody, I appreciate having Kobe on here, and hopefully he continues to jump on board and talk Superman and talk comics.
Oh yeah. It's always a pleasure to be here. It's fun. It's fun chatting when we see each other, but I think it's even better to sometimes just sit down and let's let's get some structured kind of discussion in here, you know. I always appreciate you dropping me on. I'm always down whenever you need a
Of course,
guest.
of
I'm always
course.
down to talk.
Likewise, likewise. Everybody, thank you for joining. This has been Brohood Productions, and we'll talk to you soon.